If you could find a shaman worth their salt, or even better yet, if you could go back in time and talk to one of these biblical prophets, here's how they would answer this question. And they would tell you why the question was being posed. And I'm going to translate this for you from whatever language they happen to be speaking. I guarantee you it won't be English. Here's the translation. That's bullshit. Somebody's been tweaking with your mind. The very life force that gives you life, you're trying to blame. This is ridiculous nonsense. This is divisiveness created by the father of divisiveness. And it's being done to you for a reason. But I tell you this, because I am a prophet or a shaman worth his or her salt. That is bullshit. The whole question is bullshit. You're trying to blame life force. Stop it. Now, how about you just sit down right here, or we take a very long walk through the jungle or the desert or wherever they happen to be, and I tell you a few things about this grand universe that we're all a part of. How would that be for you? My God, I can't believe you asked. What a stupid question. This is what society of today has got bouncing around in their heads. That's the kind of stuff he or she would be thinking. That's what it would be. It would be like ridiculous nonsense to them that would make no sense at all, because they're not engaged in world system divisiveness. They're not engaged in chicanery, especially religious chicanery. They're not engaged in ideologies. They deal with the raw truth that is a derivative of the righteousness system. They deal with life force. That's what they deal with. They deal with existence itself. That's the world they live in. Those people look out into their surroundings, out into nature, up into the sky, and they're thinking thoughts of the righteousness system. That's what they're thinking. That's how they think. They literally think the system. That's how they think. That's the way they think, because they're not involved in ideology. They're not exposed to it. They don't even know what it is. And this question of why would a good God do all this bad crap would just blow their minds. They wouldn't understand it in the slightest. They would have a completely different perspective. And they would start telling you things like quality control and why are you so stupid? Because they would just look at the nonsense of trying to blame Creator, life force itself, the very thing we live inside of, and would just be mind blown by that. It would be mind numbing to them to even think this was happening on this planet. They would just be like, what? But because they're real shaman and because they're real prophets, they would also have a great deal of compassion, because that life force, the generative life force, the essence of the life force, that would be God, i.e. God, would be flowing through them. And they would say, look, come with me, take a walk with me, hang out with me, sit down, let me tell you something. And then they would start telling you a different way to see it. And if you could tolerate hanging out with them for weeks and months, they would start showing you stuff from what is around you. The earth itself, the sky itself, the water itself, the food itself, everything. And they would start explaining stuff to you. And then in that time, it would dawn on you, oh, wow, This question is ridiculous, isn't it? I was designed to have an input into this, wasn't I? I was designed to create paradigms in my wake, wasn't I? I was designed with 4 components, wasn't I? I am part of all that is, aren't I? The living life force can flow through me too at grand levels. Oh my goodness. I had no idea. I have to learn to harness my free will, don't I? I have to understand the quality control system within the righteousness system, don't I? Everything really is made of force and atoms, and everything does vibrate with a vibrational frequency, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, 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 oh my goodness. And in that very second, the second that oh my goodness replaces no, 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 boom, you become enlightened. Basically all that means, and the church is so scared of it because oh, that word comes from the east. No, it doesn't. It comes from the west, it comes from the north, it comes from the... It's illumination. It's like, is your mind in the daytime or is your mind in the nighttime? Can you see clearly? Can you navigate clearly or no? Are you enlightened or not? The idea that you need to run from the word enlightenment. If it says enlightenment, run, 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 Johnny, run. No, this is religious chicanery. This is the same chicanery that poses this question, why would a good God allow all this crap? Come on. Come on. It is time to wake up. This stuff has been going on too long. It's time to wake up. It's time to see it all differently. It's time to absorb the raw truth that comes from the righteousness system as a derivative of the righteousness system. It's time to put away that Goldilocks and the Three Bears stuff where it's like, oh no, righteous means I'm good and I have to be righteous so God likes me so I'll go to heaven. Come on, people. It's time. They've been running these games on us for a long, long, long time. And if you listen to the first 5 pages, this is page 6, you will know what I'm saying. If you haven't, I hope you do. But it's up to you. This is a free will universe. Nobody's going to make you do anything. You're free to do whatever you want. If you want to live in the darkness, you can damn well live in the darkness. It's not a problem for the living universe because it is set up as a free will universe. Just understand, hey, if you want to live like this, there's consequences. And understand if you want to live like this, there's consequences and there's empowerment. What do you want? You know, what do you want? Do you even know what you want? Do you even know what you are? Do you even know why you exist? Come on. The quality control system is based upon the system of righteousness. It is like righteousness is enforcing it itself. If you're really a rotten person, I mean a really rotten person, let's take Stalin, murders his people. Hitler murders his people. Mao Zedong murders his people. You think these people are good? No. These people need to be taken and isolated. They need to be isolated. They need to be isolated, but that's governed by quality control. Quality control governs that. What kind of frequency are they vibrating, and is it tangible, and is it okay to be around on this planet or no? But if you hung out with that shaman or that biblical prophet, they would start explaining quality control to you in a very big way. And I think we should jump to that because this is a very good beginning. A very good beginning. Understanding that it's all about your frequency, the frequency of your 4 components. And I hope you listen to the 4 components set of recordings, because if you haven't, this is not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. You know, these pages are designed to build upon themselves. Just so they're designed in such a way as to go, okay, well, I listened to the first one, and now I'm finally at the 6th one, and then there's more recordings after this that I can listen to if I want to. But the recordings are designed to build upon themselves, kind of like the Bible is written in chronological order and not just a whole bunch of hooey thrown together. That kind of thing, you know? There's a reason it's designed like that. Because that's how humans are. The thing was written for us, not we didn't write it for the universe. It was designed for us. You need to understand that. Okay? It was designed for us to learn from. It's not a whole bunch of stuff thrown together. It's in order. And just like when you're learning at school, you go through these different grades so you can have something to work with when you get to the next level. So it's like that. So are these recordings like that. Same thing. Okay, I think we should really start taking a look at quality control. Because another wrench that's thrown into the cogs of we, the humans, we, the people of all the nations on planet Earth, another big wrench that's thrown into the cogs of we, the people, is some ideas surrounding concepts like heaven and hell. And I'm not so sure we're going to just jump right in, okay, here's heaven and here's hell. I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to talk about this quality control business because, man, when you see this for what it really is, it's going to help you navigate your own life so much better. It's going to knock out so much religious chicanery, you're not going to believe it. And all you have to do is just keep listening to this. That's it. Keep listening to this, and when it gives you stuff to look at it. Think about it. So let's do that. Let's jump to quality control right now. And what is quality control? The word comes at us, or the concept or the phrase or whatever, comes at us from manufacturing. You don't have to live in modern manufacturing times to understand the word. It applied to artisans from hundreds of years ago as well, and they were working individually. Michelangelo and his statues, he had quality control. It has to do with specifications. Okay, is this correct to the specification of its design? Michelangelo was making very realistic stuff. So he had specifications that were very realistic. It looked really real, like real life. So those were his specs, those were his specifications. But quality control in manufacturing, let's go into a factory, any factory at all. Quality control in manufacturing is this up to spec? Is it up to specifications? Is this part okay? Is that part okay? If it's not, it needs to be taken offline. This whole lot is no good. Take it back to the process of, okay, whatever you're working in, let's say it's plastics or metal or wood or something, well, we're gonna do away with it and remold it and reshape it and refit it because this lot is no good. That's quality control. That's what it is in a nutshell. But because we're dealing with universal quality control as it affects humans, now we're talking about the four components. Quality control of the four components. And what are the four components based on? What are they doing? Well, it has to do with vibrational frequencies, of course. Come on, of course. What's inside the cell from the physicality level? Vibrational frequency. What's inside the mind? Vibrational frequency. What are your vibes like? Same thing with the spirit, same thing with the soul. Same thing. So we're talking about quality control. We're talking about the idea. It's the same idea as manufacturing. Except we're not the manufacturers of human beings. Something else manufactured human beings. But it's still governed by quality control, and quality control has to do with vibrational frequency, especially at the human level, because of the four components. And when we take the human experience with its four components and look at an overall picture of, oh, here's a human, what kind of specs is this human vibrating at? What sort of vibrational frequency? And again, please, if you haven't listened to the four components, please go back and listen to that before you hear this briefing on this, before we go into any more segments, because it's not going to make sense to you without that little intro for the four components. Actually, it's a pretty big intro, but you understand my point, I hope. So with quality control, then the question is becoming, that's what we're looking at. Okay, what are the specs? What are the specifications? What is the vibrational frequency this being is vibrating at? Because the universe is a very, 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 very massively big place. So you're going to have, imagine it itself as a production line. You're going to have all of these different kinds of productions going. It's almost infinite. I mean, it's huge. It's massive. So we'll look at the specs. Well, is this human up to spec with this? Is this human up to spec with that? Now, when you're talking about the overall specifications of now hear me now, please hear me. When you're looking at the overall specifications of the righteousness system, and that's what you weigh the human vibrational frequency at. That's the gold standard. If you haven't heard the gold standard one, please go back and listen to that one too. That's what you're measuring them against. And when I say them, I mean we the people. I'm not even we the people, that's everybody. Even the control freak types that are running the scams and the shams and all the bad stuff. But that's what they're being measured at. That's what they're being measured at, because that is the gold standard. Does this being's vibrational frequency fit into this giant, grand scheme of the righteousness system? Or are they operating outside of it? Because if they're operating outside of it, they're going to be vibrating at a vibrational frequency that is outside, out of alignment, out of tune, out of accord with the righteousness system. And they're going to be unrighteous people. Not because they're designed to be unrighteous people, but because they chose to be unrighteous people. It's not a matter of, and now I'm bouncing around in heaven and hell, it's not a matter of well, humans are born wicked, and their deal is like an Augustine idea, Augustine or whatever that, however you pronounce it properly, in the ancient days, Saint Augustine. It's not an Augustinian idea of, well, humans are designed with the default position of they're gonna burn in hell. Now they gotta do what we say, or they're gonna burn in hell. No, 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 no. Stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. There is a design to all of this stuff. This is the righteousness system. Will you quit with the religious shenanigans? Please stop with the religious chicanery. Please. I'm going to say a few words to the religious folk, and I hope they understand me. In times past, you could pull this off. It wasn't hurting too much stuff. You can't pull it off anymore, and it's destroying you. It's literally destroying you. Stop. Quit. People are not dumb anymore. People are getting sophisticated now. Stop with this nonsense, you know? You're hurting us. You're actually hurting us. Okay, that's the end of my message for them. And I'm sorry I had to throw that in, but man, when I think about it, it just drives me crazy. I'm going to make a whole bunch of recordings in religious chicanery that's going to address these sort of ideas that come at us from the church institutions. And if you find that stuff interesting, I hope you listen to it. That's all I can say on that one. Now, back to quality control. So the quality control is part of the righteousness system. It says, okay, well, this works by vibrational frequency. Here's what the righteousness system, here's the myriad of vibrational frequency. It's like light spectrum. It's an infinite number. You can't count them all. You have like 7 or 8 basic ones. Then you have infrared, and then you have ultraviolet. Now, what we know through physics and through science is that ultraviolet is high frequency light spectrum. Same with your soul, same with your spirit. If you're vibrating at that point, and we're using light as a scale, as an analogy, people. Come on, I mean, it's an analogy. It's something we can look at that's simple and say, okay, I get it. So let's say we're using light spectrum as our measurement now, because it really is light spectrum. I mean, nobody created it. It's always here. It's just light. Ultraviolet is high frequency stuff. Infrared is low frequency stuff. Now, can you see either one of these with your naked eyes? No, absolutely not. You can't. You need a machine. You need some kind of lens that will break down the light so you can pick it up, because you're not designed to see it. So you're not designed to see the lowest frequency of light spectrum, which is infrared. You can't see that stuff. I mean, you can know I've been out in the sun too long because I'm getting blistered and everything, but you can't see that stuff. You can't see what's happening. And you can't see ultraviolet either, which is like really high frequency stuff. You can't see that. You can't see it. But we can see the ranges in the middle. We can see those ranges. So since we're using light to draw analogy from, it would be like, okay, what is my auric field and my soul and my spirit and my mind, in other words, my consciousness? Because, diabolical people, the reason they're diabolical is because they think diabolical things and then act on those diabolical things. That's honestly what makes them diabolical. And it does affect their cells. It truly does. Your other 3 components truly, honestly do affect your cells at the level of physicality. That is not some humdrum esoteric science. That's just hardcore physics right in front of your face. Period. Look it up. But so let's look at this. Let's look at this in terms of soul. Let's look at this in terms of, heaven and hell. Just real quickly. Okay, so let's say okay, since hell, since the lowest spectrum is infrared, let's say okay, so places like hell are holding tanks. They're more or less holding tanks for people that really aren't ready to be on Earth, or they need to be isolated for the good of the rest of us, because it's too much, they're too diabolical, and they're not ready for prime time, so to speak. What we talked about earlier, your Hitlers, your Mao Zedongs, your Stalins, your Pol Pots, these kind of people that we know of in history, that we can say without any doubt in our minds, hey, these people were vibrating at a pitch that was just incredibly destructive to what goes on the surface of this planet. Just incredibly destructive. And they need to be isolated. Period. Bottom line. Period. Because we're dealing with a righteousness system, and because everything is governed through the righteousness system, everything, then there's holding tanks for these kind of souls. There's holding tanks for these kind of souls. But they don't get there because I'm thinking this instead of that. No. They get there because the frequency vibration of that whole place is set to something they happen to be vibrating when they leave this planet. In other words, when they croak, they're vibrating at that vibration. That is a very uncool vibration, very uncool, very unrighteous, not within the confines of the righteousness system, outside of the righteousness system, because everything is the righteousness system, and quality control is governed by the righteousness system. So the righteousness system says, okay, well, according to the laws of polarity, these people are going to polarize to where they are best suited to be. Now, they're vibrating at this one pitch, and you have to be vibrating at this one pitch, this one tone, this one vibrational frequency to do all that heinous crap. I mean, someone like you and me, we're not going to think of doing that heinous. That's insane. Regular folk, we the people folk, we're not even going to even think of doing something like that. I mean, it would turn our stomachs. We'd just be barfing everywhere. It'd be horrible. I mean, my God, that's just not we the people kind of thinking. But that's what they're vibrating at. So when they croak, that's where they polarize too. There's no choice in the matter. The same thing works on the other side. If you're vibrating toward, and now we're going to say ultraviolet, which is a very high frequency, by the way, and at the highest levels, we can't see it. It's not possible to see. Just like infrared, we can't see that. It's not possible to see. But if you're vibrating that, and of course we're using this as an analogy to simplify things, you're vibrating that, then it's like you're going to polarize. When you croak, the real you is going to polarize wherever that is and wherever that goes. And that happens to be in harmony and in conjunction with the righteousness system. So you're a righteous person. So you polarize to wherever that polarization is. Whatever your frequency is that you created your frequency. You make your own paradigms. Nobody created them. Nobody created them for you. I mean, your environment sure has a lot to do with it, but two people could be growing up in the same exact environment. One of them could become a heinous murderer, and the other one becomes a really good, constructive citizen that does all kinds of good stuff as time goes on. These are the same people, but they make these different choices and do these different ideas, and it sets their set point. It affects, rather. their set point, the set point of what is my vibrational frequency, what is it vibrating at, what is the actual frequency itself. So that is a really quick, brief look about this is the righteousness system. This is how it's set up. You know, all the other stuff, hey, you know, now in fairness, in terms of Christianity, because you're dealing with a being that is a creator being, and the creator being says, okay, well, I'm going to override a whole bunch of stuff, and then slowly change your set point, okay, over time, because it takes time. But in the instant it comes in, it says, okay, we're going to recalibrate you. Now you're recalibrated. So, you know, in all fairness, we have to say, yeah, okay, there's something to that, something very intensive to that. But this idea that humans are born to at the default position of you're going to burn in hell, this Augustinian idea, this is just an idea from Augustine that became a official church position. But we're looking at the righteousness system. Okay? Alright, this segment is getting long. I'm going to go to the next segment and break this down a little bit more and go a little deeper into frequencies so we can get a good handle on this. Because understanding this, we should all be knowing this, and we don't know this because we've been hijacked by chicanery, and this because this one kind of really seriously borders in the religions, in the religious institutions. You know, it's kind of hard to brainwash you if you know this simple idea. It's damn near impossible to brainwash you if you know this simple idea. Okay?